Remember when you were a kid and your birthday felt like the most magical day of the year? The anticipation built up for weeks, maybe even months beforehand. You'd count down the days, eagerly waiting for that one special moment when everyone would gather around to celebrate you. The excitement was palpable. Balloons, cake, presents, and that thrilling feeling of all eyes being on you, like the world itself paused for a second to acknowledge your existence. It was your day, and nothing else seemed to matter. But then, as time passed, something shifted. As an adult, birthdays can feel like just another day on the calendar. The messages trickle in, but the excitement is gone. Maybe you get a text or a call from your mum, a notification from Facebook. If you're lucky, your friends remember. But somehow, it just doesn't hold the same weight. You might even tell people you don't really celebrate, that it's no big deal. You shrug it off with a casual smile, but deep down, there's a quiet realization. It is a big deal, just not in the way it used to be. It's hard to admit that those childhood thrills have faded, and you're left wondering where they went. The birthday cheer, once so grand, is now replaced by routine, like any other day that passes without much fanfare. Why does it feel so different now? Is it simply because we grow older, or could there be something more? The truth is, as we mature, birthdays aren't just about celebrating our age anymore. They're a reminder of the passage of time, of how far we've come, and maybe how far we still want to go. It's this awareness, this deeper reflection, that starts to overshadow the excitement we once felt. But just because we treat the day like any other, it doesn't mean that part of us doesn't still crave the joy we felt as a child. It's there, quietly, beneath the surface. When someone says, "I don't really care about my birthday," you might think they're just being casual about it, maybe even a little indifferent. It's a common response, especially in adulthood, when the excitement of birthdays fades into the background. But the truth is, this seemingly nonchalant attitude often has more depth than we realise. For many, the words, "I don't care," are not a statement of indifference. They're a defence mechanism, a layer of emotional armour built over time to protect themselves from the vulnerabilities that birthdays often bring. Think about it. Birthdays are one of the few days each year when we are meant to be the centre of attention. The spotlight is on us, and on some level, we expect to be seen and celebrated by the people around us. For most of us, there's something inherently emotional about birthdays. It's the one day that's supposed to be ours, where we're not defined by our roles, responsibilities, or what we've accomplished. It's just us, simply for existing. But here's where the psychology gets interesting. For some people, birthdays are no longer about feeling seen. Instead, they become a painful reminder of times when they weren't seen or acknowledged in the way they hoped. This is especially true for those who've experienced emotional letdowns in the past, whether it's from forgotten birthdays, lack of celebration, or simply feeling overlooked by those who should have cared. When you've been let down enough, your mind starts to build a sort of protective barrier. It's like emotional self-preservation. The brain, in its infinite wisdom, realizes that if it can lower expectations, if it can convince itself that it doesn't need anything, it can avoid the sting of disappointment. And so, when people claim they don't care about their birthday, what they're often really saying is, "I've learned not to need this anymore." But that doesn't mean they don't want it. That desire is still there, but it's been tucked away, hidden under layers of emotional self-defense. This isn't about being cold or detached. In fact, it's often the exact opposite. The people who hide their emotions the most are often the most sensitive ones. They've just learned not to expect anything, because when they did, it hurt too much. When birthdays didn't go as expected, they got disappointed. Maybe they had an experience when they were younger. Maybe a parent or friend forgot. Or maybe the day went unnoticed despite their hopes. These experiences, small as they may seem to others, can leave deep emotional scars. And over time, the brain learns to protect itself by numbing those hopes and desires. It teaches itself that it's better not to need anything than to risk being let down again. But here's the kicker. Just because someone says they don't care about their birthday doesn't mean they don't still carry those emotions. They might tell themselves that it's no big deal and brush it off with a smile, but underneath there's often a quiet longing for validation, for acknowledgement. It's a desire that's been buried deep down, a wish that someone, anyone, would remember without needing to be reminded. It's like a soft voice inside, whispering, "I want to be seen today. I want to be acknowledged for who I am, for all that I've become." This psychological mechanism isn't just about birthdays. It's about how we cope with the world at large. Over time, people who repeatedly experience emotional disappointment develop this tendency to downplay their needs, to tell themselves they don't care, when in fact they've just learned to keep those desires hidden to protect themselves from the sting of rejection. It's like building a wall around your heart, and though you might look okay on the outside, on the inside, you're quietly hoping someone will see beyond the wall and acknowledge the person who's still there, waiting to be recognized. And this goes beyond just birthdays. It touches on how people deal with emotional needs in general. Those who've been let down may start to convince themselves that they don't need affection, attention, or validation from others, because needing anything means risking the pain of disappointment. This kind of emotional self-sufficiency is admirable in some ways, but it's also isolating. People who adopt this mindset can sometimes feel like they're walking through life as observers, not participants. They engage with the world politely, but with a certain emotional distance, as if they're guarding themselves from the possibility of pain. It's this paradox that makes the psychology of birthday indifference so fascinating. On one hand, it can be seen as a sign of emotional maturity, learning to be okay with yourself, to find fulfillment from within. But on the other hand, it's a form of emotional withdrawal. The person might have become so used to being the strong one, the responsible one, the giver, that they forget how to let themselves receive, even on their special day. Birthdays, which are meant to be a celebration of life, can turn into a reminder of what's been lost. The joy of being seen, of being celebrated, of being recognized just for existing. In reality, when someone treats their birthday like any other day, it's often a reflection of the emotional complexity that lies beneath the surface. It's not about being emotionally distant or detached. It's about having learned to protect oneself from the vulnerability that comes with needing others to acknowledge you. It's a quiet story of someone who has carried disappointment for so long that they've had to teach themselves to survive without the recognition they once craved. So next time someone tells you they don't care about their birthday, remember that there's often more to it than just apathy. They may have simply learned to mask their emotions to protect themselves, but deep down, there's still a human longing to be seen, to be acknowledged, and to be remembered. It's not about being detached, it's about coping with the emotional complexity of life, learning to navigate the balance between self-sufficiency and the quiet need for connection. Have you ever found yourself looking forward to something, a birthday, an event, a moment, only to be left feeling disappointed when it didn't live up to what you imagined? Maybe the party you hoped for didn't happen, or your friends didn't remember, or the celebration didn't carry the same spark it used to. If that sounds familiar, then you've probably experienced something called emotional self-protection. And let me tell you, it's not as sad as it may seem. In fact, it's a clever protective mechanism that the brain develops to help us navigate the ups and downs of life. Emotional self-protection is, in essence, the mind's way of guarding us against disappointment. It works like a built-in defense system. When we've been let down too many times, we start to reduce our expectations in order to avoid the sting of unmet hopes. Think about it. If you stop expecting others to make a big deal about your birthday, for example, you're protecting yourself from the potential hurt of feeling forgotten or unnoticed. It's a way of saying, if I don't get my hopes up, I won't be disappointed. It's like the emotional equivalent of wearing armor to shield yourself from the arrows of life. At first, this self-protection feels like a smart survival tactic. After all, it's easier to keep your heart safe by lowering the bar than to keep hoping for things that may never come. But the problem is, when we do this too often, it starts to affect how we experience life in general. Think about birthdays again. By telling ourselves that we don't need a celebration, or that it's no big deal, we start to prevent ourselves from feeling joy, not just on our birthdays, but in other areas of life as well. When we lower our expectations to protect ourselves from hurt, we also lower our ability to fully experience happiness. It's a subtle but powerful shift. Over time, we start to walk through life on autopilot, emotionally distanced from the highs and lows of experiences. Instead of getting excited about things, we start to feel numb, like we're just going through the motions. This isn't necessarily a conscious choice, it's simply a result of our brains doing their job to keep us safe. The more we lower our expectations, the more we condition ourselves to be okay with mediocrity or even disappointment. It's like living in a grey zone, where you don't feel the deep lows, but you also miss out on the intense highs. Imagine the last birthday you had, or any special occasion really. Did you feel anything? Maybe you smiled politely and said, "Thanks, this is fine," but inside, were you feeling more detached than excited? You weren't necessarily being ungrateful. It's more that you had become so used to downplaying your emotional needs that you didn't allow yourself to truly feel. This is the emotional self-protection mechanism at work. It's not that you didn't care about the day, it's that your brain had trained you to believe that caring too much would only lead to disappointment, so you stopped fully investing emotionally. And here's the interesting thing. While this emotional numbing can feel protective at first, it can eventually leave us feeling empty. Over time, we might even start to forget what real joy feels like. The same part of us that once got excited about a surprise gift or a thoughtful gesture now finds those things to be nice but whatever. It's like turning down the volume on life's celebrations. And the sad part? We might not even realize we're doing it until we've become so used to the quiet that we no longer crave the loud moments of joy we used to experience. There's also the risk of becoming emotionally disconnected from others. People who often downplay their own needs may also stop acknowledging others' needs. It becomes a cycle. One person says, "I don't need anything, I'm fine," and then the other person learns not to give. You stop being emotionally present for others because you've learned that it's better not to expect anything in return. But deep down, this avoidance can make relationships feel less fulfilling. We start to distance ourselves from those around us, not because we want to, but because we've been conditioned to protect ourselves from the pain of feeling unnoticed or unimportant. But here's where the human side of things gets interesting. Even when we tell ourselves that we don't care, we're still feeling something. Emotions don't just disappear because we try to ignore them. They linger beneath the surface, quietly waiting to be acknowledged. So even the most emotionally self-protected individuals can still experience small pangs of longing. Maybe you think you're fine with a quiet birthday, but in the middle of the day, you catch yourself wondering, did anyone remember? That's not weakness, that's humanity. It's the quiet voice that tells us we still want to feel seen, even if we've trained ourselves to pretend we don't. And while emotional self-protection can help us survive disappointment, it also carries a hidden cost. It dulls the vibrancy of life, replacing the sharp highs with a muted, grey existence. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be permanent. Awareness is the first step in breaking the cycle. By acknowledging the role that emotional self-protection plays in our lives, we can start to slowly shift our perspective. We can allow ourselves to be vulnerable again, to feel joy without worrying that it will be taken away. So, next time you find yourself downplaying a birthday or any event, take a moment to ask yourself why. Are you truly okay with not celebrating? Or is your brain just trying to protect you from getting hurt? It's okay to want a celebration. It doesn't make you needy or weak. It makes you human. And even if you choose not to make a big deal of it, allow yourself to enjoy the quiet joy that can come from simply being present in the moment, even if it's just for yourself. Because joy, when it does come, is far sweeter when we let ourselves fully experience it. There's this assumption in our culture that as we grow older, we simply outgrow certain things, birthdays being one of them. We might hear people say, "Oh, I don't care about my birthday anymore," or "I've grown out of all that." On the surface, it might sound like they've become emotionally distant or detached from the world around them. But here's the catch. The difference between emotional maturity and emotional withdrawal is much more subtle than it seems. And birthdays, of all things, are often the perfect lens through which to view this shift. Maturity isn't about becoming emotionally cold. It's not about distancing yourself from the joy, excitement, and connection that birthdays can bring. It's about finding peace in yourself and in your relationships. For many people, reaching a point where birthdays no longer hold the same kind of thrill doesn't come from indifference. It's the result of an internal evolution. What they're really saying beneath the surface is that they've learned to find joy in the everyday moments, in the quiet of their routines, and in the simple acts of existence rather than in celebrations that are centered around a single day. Think about it this way. When you're young, your birthday feels like the ultimate validation. It's the day when you get presents, attention, and a sense of being special. It's a bright, shining moment in the year when everything feels amplified. But as you get older, the loud celebrations start to lose their luster. You begin to realize that joy isn't always tied to big events or external celebrations. Life's real celebrations, the ones that truly matter, are the small victories and quiet moments. It's waking up on a Sunday morning, enjoying a cup of coffee in peace, or having a heart-to-heart conversation with a close friend. Those are the kinds of celebrations that start to mean more than balloons and cake. When you reach this level of emotional maturity, birthdays become more about reflection than celebration. They become an opportunity to look back on the past year, to reflect on your growth, your relationships, and your own personal journey. You no longer need a birthday to feel validated. You've learned that validation comes from within, from how you've shown up for yourself over the course of the year, not just from how others see you on a single day. But here's the tricky part. Not everyone who says they've outgrown birthdays is experiencing this kind of peace. For some, the lack of celebration isn't about emotional maturity at all. It's a form of emotional withdrawal. It's a defense mechanism, born from past disappointments or unmet needs. For them, birthdays may still trigger feelings of longing or loneliness, but instead of embracing those feelings, they push them away. They might say, "I don't care," but the truth is they're simply protecting themselves from the vulnerability of wanting to be seen, remembered, or acknowledged. Emotional withdrawal is different from maturity in that it comes from a place of self-protection, not self-acceptance. When we withdraw emotionally, we distance ourselves from others as a way to avoid getting hurt. Maybe these individuals had years of birthdays where no one remembered, or they experienced moments where their hopes for celebration were dashed. Over time, they learned that it was safer to stop expecting anything, because when they did, it often led to disappointment. So they closed off that part of themselves, the part that wants to be celebrated, telling themselves that they don't need it. They might even feel like a burden for wanting attention, which only deepens the emotional distance. But while it may feel like an emotional shield, this kind of withdrawal can actually lead to emotional numbness. It's not peace they've found, it's resignation. They've convinced themselves that being happy with nothing is the way to avoid feeling hurt, but it's also the very thing that keeps them from fully experiencing joy, both on their birthday and in everyday life. They've become disconnected from their own needs, from their own desires, and from the parts of themselves that yearn for recognition. The difference between maturity and withdrawal isn't always easy to see, especially when it comes to something as personal as a birthday. It's not always about age or life experience, it's about emotional resilience. Some people have learned to embrace life's ordinary moments with quiet gratitude, while others have become so guarded by past pain that they struggle to let themselves feel anything at all. The key is understanding that maturity doesn't mean erasing the desire for acknowledgement. It means learning to validate yourself without needing constant external reinforcement. So, when you meet someone who says they don't care about their birthday, take a moment to reflect on their journey. Have they truly outgrown birthday excitement, or have they simply learned to protect themselves from disappointment? Maturity comes from the ability to enjoy life's smaller moments, but it also requires the courage to embrace vulnerability. If we want to grow emotionally, we need to allow ourselves to feel, to care, and to let others see us, not just on our birthdays, but every day. Because emotional growth isn't about pushing our needs aside, it's about integrating those needs into our lives in a way that feels authentic and true to who we are. In the end, maturity and emotional withdrawal aren't just defined by how we approach our birthdays. They define how we approach life itself. Are we able to celebrate ourselves in quiet reflection, or do we pull away, hiding behind a mask of indifference, afraid of the vulnerability that comes with truly being seen? The journey to emotional maturity is about finding balance, the balance between giving yourself the gift of celebration and accepting that sometimes the most profound moments of growth are the ones that don't come with cake or candles. Let's be honest, how many times have you caught yourself quietly wishing someone would remember your birthday? Not because you're after a big celebration or a pile of gifts, but because, deep down, you want to feel seen. The world might try to tell us that birthdays are just another day, or that we should outgrow the need for recognition. But no matter how much we downplay it, the truth is, we all want to be acknowledged. It's not about needing grand gestures or applause. It's about a simple, heartfelt reminder that you matter. That the people around you see you for who you are, not just for what you do or how you show up in the world. Birthdays, in their most intimate form, are about being celebrated for simply existing. There's something deeply human about wanting that, about wanting someone to acknowledge the quiet struggle and growth that happens between each birthday, the days in between the celebrations. But as adults, we're often told to downplay these needs, to shrug them off with a smile and a no big deal when, in fact, it is a big deal. Even if you tell yourself you don't need anything on your birthday, there's that little voice inside you, isn't there? It whispers quietly, almost like a secret. I hope someone remembers. It's not a desperate plea for validation. It's more of a quiet longing, a hope that, even in our busy, scattered lives, someone will pause for a moment to acknowledge that it's your day. It's not that we need a party or even a fancy dinner, but maybe, just maybe, we hope someone will pick up the phone or send a simple message to remind us that they haven't forgotten us. It's the small, often understated things that mean the most, the little gestures that let us know we matter. And here's where things get even more interesting. This quiet desire for recognition doesn't just surface on birthdays. It's something we carry throughout life. We crave validation in so many areas of our existence: our work, our relationships, our passions, our struggles. We want to be seen for the efforts we put in, the love we give, the sacrifices we make. But somehow, we're also told that needing recognition is a weakness. We're taught to keep our expectations low, to not make a big deal out of things. That if we need to be celebrated, we're somehow being needy. And so, we suppress the desire for recognition, putting on a brave face while quietly wishing for someone to notice. It's like we've internalized the idea that needing to be seen is somehow wrong, when in fact, it's deeply human. In reality, this desire to be seen is not weakness. It's a reflection of our need for connection. As social creatures, we thrive on being noticed, on being acknowledged by the people around us. It's not just about receiving compliments or praise. It's about feeling valued, like you're not invisible. And birthdays, as simple as they may seem, are a symbol of that need. They represent a unique moment in time when we can pause and recognize the fact that someone is here, that someone exists in this world. And if you think about it, that's what birthdays are really all about. They're a way to say, I see you, I see the person you've become, and I appreciate your presence in this world. But here's the problem. Many of us don't allow ourselves to ask for that. We've been trained to believe that it's selfish, that it's somehow wrong to expect attention on the one day that's supposed to be all about us. So we brush off the desire for recognition and act like it's no big deal. But deep inside, it's a little different. We still want to feel seen, even if it's not in the loud, public ways we once craved. Sometimes it's the quiet acknowledgement that means the most. A simple text, a handwritten note, a warm hug, a phone call, or just someone remembering without needing a reminder. Here's the thing. We all deserve to be seen for who we are, not just for what we accomplish. We live in a world where so much of our value is tied to achievement and productivity, but birthdays are a reminder that we don't have to do anything to be worthy of love and attention. Our mere existence is enough. That's why birthdays can stir up such complex emotions. They remind us that, in some ways, we want more than just to be acknowledged for what we've done. We want to be recognized for the person we are in all of our flaws, strengths, and growth. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, but I don't want to seem needy. I don't want to ask for anything. And that's the paradox, right? The fact that we want to be seen, but don't feel comfortable expressing that need. We've been told that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness, so we keep it hidden, buried under layers of emotional armor. But that doesn't change the fact that the desire to be seen is there. It's a quiet, almost unspoken longing that we all carry, even if we pretend we don't need it. So next time you downplay your birthday, or when you feel like it's just another day, remember that it's okay to want to be seen. It doesn't make you needy, and it certainly doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. It makes you someone who understands the importance of connection, of being recognized for the person you are, not for the things you've done, but for simply existing and continuing to show up in this world. And when someone does reach out to you, when they remember, when they acknowledge your existence on that day, let it in. Allow yourself to feel the warmth of being seen, because in that moment, you've been reminded that you matter. That's what we all want, isn't it? To be seen and to know that we matter, not just in the eyes of the world, but in the hearts of the people around us. Have you ever found yourself putting everyone else's needs before your own? And then, when your birthday or special day rolls around, you barely expect anyone to remember? Maybe you've been the one who always takes care of the details, always planning the events for others, always showing up with a smile, but when it's your turn, you feel like it's just another day. This is emotional fatigue in its purest form, and it's something that's more common than we realize. For many of us, especially those who are caretakers, givers, or the strong person in our circles, there's a quiet assumption that we don't need much in return. We're the ones who remember everyone's birthdays, who plan the events, who send the cards, who pick up the slack without asking for anything in return. Over time, we start to internalize this role as being the responsible one, the dependable one, the one who holds everyone else together. We begin to believe that our needs don't matter as much, that we should be okay without the attention or recognition, because it feels easier to give than to ask. But here's the catch: when we give so much without receiving, we start to lose touch with our own needs. Our emotional reserves begin to deplete, and without even realizing it, we become emotionally exhausted. It's like constantly pouring from an empty cup. Eventually, there's nothing left for ourselves. We become so accustomed to being the ones who show up for others that we forget how to let others show up for us. We might not even realize we're doing it. We tell ourselves that it's fine, that we don't need anything because others' happiness is more important. But deep down, a small part of us is silently waiting for someone to notice our efforts, to see how much we've given, and maybe, just maybe, offer us the same care and attention. This emotional fatigue can be especially overwhelming on days like birthdays. These are the days when, Traditionally, people should be focusing on us, but instead, we often find ourselves carrying on as usual, managing everyone else's expectations, making sure things go smoothly for others, and downplaying our own need for attention. We might even tell ourselves, it's just another day, even though a part of us quietly wishes it wasn't. There's also a deeper layer to this. The people who give the most are often the ones who have learned, over time, that their needs are inconvenient. Maybe when we were younger, we didn't always get the support or care we needed from others. Perhaps we grew up in environments where affection or validation was inconsistent or conditional, so we learned to become self-sufficient. We became the ones who took care of everyone else, but we stopped allowing ourselves to need or want. Over time, this pattern becomes ingrained. We get used to being the strong one, and we begin to feel guilty if we need anything in return. But here's the thing about emotional fatigue. It doesn't just affect our ability to give, it also affects our capacity to receive. When you're so used to giving without asking, it can feel strange, even uncomfortable, when someone offers you something. A simple happy birthday from a friend might feel like it's too much to ask for. You might feel embarrassed or even unworthy of receiving kindness or attention. It's as though we've convinced ourselves that we don't deserve it. This emotional fatigue leaves us in a strange place where we're unable to accept the very thing we've been giving to others so freely. The most telling sign of emotional fatigue is when we begin to lose touch with our own desires. Maybe we've gone through a year without asking for what we want, without really feeling what we need. It's like walking through life with blinders on, always looking outward, never inward. We focus on everyone else's birthdays, everyone else's needs, everyone else's milestones, but forget to take a step back and ask ourselves, what do I need right now? And this isn't just limited to birthdays, it's a pervasive feeling that can spill over into every area of our lives. Maybe you've been the one who always checks in with friends when they're down, but when you need someone to talk to, you're left with silence. Maybe you've always been the one organising group events, making sure everyone feels included, but when it's your turn to be celebrated, you find yourself quietly fading into the background. This constant cycle of emotional self-neglect is exhausting, and while it might feel like a noble way to live, putting others first, it can take a toll on your well-being. The good news is that emotional fatigue isn't permanent. Recognizing that you've been the one doing all the giving, without allowing yourself to receive, is the first step toward healing. It's about learning to let others show up for you too. It's okay to need something. It's okay to let yourself be seen, celebrated, and cared for. You don't have to earn recognition by always being the strong one. You deserve to be seen, not just for what you do for others, but for who you are. Your kindness, your resilience, and your ability to give love without expecting anything in return. In fact, birthdays can be a perfect time to start shifting this pattern. When you feel that quiet longing for recognition, it's a sign that you've given so much of yourself over the years that your heart is asking for a little in return. You don't have to make a big deal of it. You don't have to throw a lavish party or expect a room full of people to shower you with attention. But allowing yourself to be acknowledged, even in small ways, is an important act of self-care. It's about accepting that your emotional needs are valid and that you deserve to feel seen and appreciated, just like everyone else. So next time your birthday comes around, or any other special day, take a moment to check in with yourself. Ask yourself if you've been giving so much to others that you've forgotten how to receive, and then give yourself permission to want to be celebrated. It doesn't make you needy, it makes you human. You've spent so long caring for others. It's time to care for yourself too. Because the truth is, when you let others give to you, it's not just about receiving, it's about replenishing your own emotional well-being and rediscovering the joy of being cared for. You deserve it. You really do. Have you ever noticed how birthdays can bring a mix of emotions, sometimes all at once? For some people, they're a time of reflection, a chance to look back on the year that was and assess where they've been. For others, birthdays may feel like a time of pressure, a reminder that another year has passed and the to-do list of life remains unfinished. But no matter how you approach it, birthdays inevitably turn into emotional checkpoints, moments where we reflect not just on how much older we're getting, but on the person we've become over the past year. It's funny, really. We mark the passage of time with this single date, and it's so easy to get lost in the celebrations, the cake, and the wishes. But underneath all that, there's often a deeper story unfolding. Birthdays have this unique ability to hold up a mirror to our lives, showing us who we are, who we've been, and sometimes most painfully, who we still want to become. It's not just about celebrating the years you've lived. It's about confronting the distance between who you were and who you hope to be. Think about the last birthday you celebrated. Was there a part of you that looked back and thought, wow, I've grown so much. I've learned a lot, made progress, and become a better person? Or did you look back and feel that familiar sting of unfulfilled goals or missed opportunities? That sense of wanting to do more, be more, and achieve more? That's the emotional checkpoint kicking in. We don't just measure our age on our birthdays, we measure our growth, our happiness, and our sense of purpose. But here's the thing, it's not about judging yourself harshly. It's natural to feel some discomfort when looking at the gaps between your expectations and reality. We all have those moments where we wish we had done more, been more, or reached a different place by this age. Birthdays can stir up these mixed emotions, and that's perfectly normal. They remind us of time's fleeting nature, and with that reminder often comes a soft pressure to catch up on the things we think we should have accomplished. It's easy to get lost in that feeling of inadequacy, especially when comparing our personal milestones to society's expectations. But here's the key. Birthdays are meant to be personal. They are for you to reflect on your own path, your own growth, and your own progress, not anyone else's. Sometimes, when we feel stuck, birthdays can feel like little confrontations with ourselves. We might think about everything we haven't achieved yet, the dreams that are still on hold, the goals that seem out of reach, the challenges we haven't yet conquered. And in that space, it's easy to lose sight of how far we've come. Birthdays, as emotional checkpoints, are often moments of reflection that help us see both our victories and our setbacks. But it's important to remember that progress doesn't always look like what we expect it to. It's not always a straight line, and it's not always as visible as we want it to be. Sometimes growth is quiet. It's in the way we've learned to cope, the way we've changed our mindset, the way we've come to accept ourselves, flaws and all. Take a step back though, and you might see something even more powerful. Birthdays force us to slow down for a moment. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the rush of everyday life, constantly moving from one task to the next, one goal to the next. But birthdays, whether we like them or not, make us pause, even if just for a second. They give us a chance to reflect on our journey, not just as a checklist of things done or not done, but as a collection of lived moments. We're forced to ask ourselves, what did I learn this year? How did I grow as a person? What moments shaped me? And here's the truth. It's okay to have gaps. It's okay to look at your birthday and think, I'm not exactly where I thought I would be. Because life is messy, it's unpredictable. And the most important thing is that you're still moving forward, even if it's at your own pace. Birthdays are a reminder that the path isn't linear, and the milestones aren't always as obvious as we think they should be. Sometimes growth comes in the small, quiet moments that we don't always recognize in the hustle and bustle of life. Moreover, birthdays help us measure something even more important: how far we've come emotionally. Growth isn't just about checking off achievements, it's about how we've learned to handle adversity, how we've navigated relationships, and how we've adapted to change. These are often the most significant milestones, yet they're not always the ones we celebrate. On your birthday, you might reflect on how much stronger you've become in dealing with setbacks, how much kinder you've grown toward yourself, or how much more you've learned to appreciate the small things in life. That's growth too. Birthdays are also a great opportunity to acknowledge the person you've become. We don't often take the time to appreciate ourselves, to recognize how far we've come. Instead of focusing on what we haven't done, maybe it's time to take a moment and recognize who we are today. Think about how much you've learned, how much you've endured, and how much you've accomplished, even if it wasn't in the way you expected. Maybe you didn't get that promotion you wanted, or you didn't achieve a personal goal, but look at how far you've come emotionally and mentally. Look at the person you've become. On your birthday, take a moment to congratulate yourself for that, because the emotional growth and strength you've developed throughout the year are just as important as the material achievements you might have envisioned for yourself. So what if your birthday feels less like a celebration and more like a checkpoint? That's okay. Birthdays don't have to be huge parties or grand celebrations. Sometimes, the quiet reflection, the acknowledgement of where you are and where you've been is the most meaningful way to mark the day. After all, birthdays aren't just about where you're going. They're about appreciating where you are right now. And where you are today is enough. You've made it another year, you've survived, you've learned, you've loved, and you've grown. That's something worth celebrating, whether it's with a cake or a quiet moment of self-reflection. Have you ever found yourself thinking, I'm not really into birthdays anymore, or I don't need anyone to throw me a party? If you have, you're certainly not alone. As we grow older, the concept of celebrating our birthdays often changes. What once felt like the most exciting day of the year, filled with presents, cake and the spotlight, may now feel like just another day. The difference isn't about growing apathetic or not enjoying life anymore. It's about shifting our sources of joy. As children, birthdays are all about external celebrations, gifts, attention, and moments of acknowledgement from others. You look forward to the cake, the presents, and the people gathering to celebrate you. It's a thrill that seems to fade with time, as life gets busier and more complex. The thing is, over time, many of us start to realize that joy doesn't need to be tied to external events. It doesn't need to be wrapped up in a party or tied to other people's recognition. Instead, it can come from within. When you reach a certain level of maturity, you begin to understand that true happiness is found in self-awareness and self-appreciation. It's no longer about the cake or the presents. It's about reflecting on the past year and how far you've come, emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. It's about recognizing the growth, the lessons, the milestones that might not be as tangible, but are just as valuable as any gift you could receive. You've learned to appreciate the simple joys of life, and maybe you've realized that those small, quiet moments of self-acknowledgement hold far more meaning than any grand gesture could. This is where birthdays start to feel different. You might find yourself not wanting a huge party, or you might feel indifferent to the fact that not everyone remembers. But this isn't apathy. It's a shift in your relationship with joy. Birthdays become less about external recognition and more about personal reflection. You stop needing to celebrate with others because you've learned to celebrate yourself quietly within the everyday moments of your life. It's about appreciating what you've achieved over the past year, both the big wins and the small steps forward. It's also about realizing that you don't need others to validate your existence or to celebrate who you are. When you were younger, birthdays felt like a big affirmation from the world. Here you are, celebrated, loved, acknowledged. But now, you've learned to give that affirmation to yourself. You've learned to validate your own worth, your own progress, and your own existence, even when the world doesn't throw a big celebration your way. This is emotional maturity at its core. Think about it. As a child, the need for recognition is more urgent. It feels like a fundamental part of your existence to be celebrated by others. But as you get older, you begin to recognize that your value is not dependent on what others think of you, nor is your happiness tied to one day a year. Life is full of opportunities for self-expression and growth. And in many ways, the more you grow emotionally, the less you need external celebrations to remind you of your worth. You become your own celebration. This shift doesn't mean you don't enjoy being around loved ones, or that you no longer appreciate when people remember your birthday. It simply means that you're not emotionally dependent on that recognition anymore. Birthdays stop feeling like tests of how much people care about you and start feeling like opportunities for personal reflection, moments to check in with yourself and see how far you've come in your journey. It's about being comfortable in your own skin and not needing the world to reflect back your importance, because you've learned to reflect that back to yourself. And yet, even with this shift in perspective, there's still a quiet human truth that lingers beneath the surface. We all want to be seen. Even the most emotionally self-sufficient people still want to be recognized, even if just for a moment. So even though we might say we don't care about our birthday, or that we don't need a celebration, there's a small part of us that still hopes for a simple acknowledgement. This desire doesn't undermine our growth. It highlights the fact that we are, at our core, social beings who crave connection. It's natural to want to feel like you matter to others, and a birthday is a natural time for that to be expressed. But here's the beauty of it. As we grow emotionally, we learn to find peace in the lack of celebration. It's not that we no longer care or that we've shut ourselves off from others. It's that we've learned to celebrate ourselves in more meaningful, quieter ways. A walk in nature, a moment of solitude, a quiet reflection of the year past. These are the new ways we celebrate, and these are the ways that bring us true peace. There's a certain soft joy in these moments that you can't replicate with a crowded room or a pile of gifts. Self-celebration becomes less about the external and more about the internal, appreciating who you are and how far you've come, not just in the past year, but in the many years that have shaped you. Of course, it's still okay to desire recognition from others. We all want to be seen, and there's no shame in that. But the beauty of growing emotionally is that we learn to understand that our worth doesn't depend on the validation of others. We can give ourselves the recognition we need and still appreciate the kindness of others when they remember us. It's about finding balance. It's about having the capacity to celebrate yourself, quietly, internally, without needing the world to celebrate you in return. And when others do remember, when they do reach out, it becomes a sweet, unexpected gift. It's not the whole source of your joy, but it adds a layer of warmth, reminding you that connection still matters. In this light, birthdays stop being a test. They stop being a measure of how much people care about us. Instead, they become a reflection of our emotional evolution, a chance to pause and acknowledge how far we've come, how much we've learned, and how much we've grown. You've outgrown the need for external validation, but there's still a soft, beautiful ache inside for connection. And that's okay. It's okay to want recognition. It's okay to want to feel celebrated, even in your quiet way. Because you've learned that celebration doesn't have to be loud to be real. It can be soft, private, and meaningful. And that's the truest form of celebration. How many times have you found yourself saying, "I don't need anything for my birthday, wait," or "It's fine, no big deal," all while secretly wishing that someone, just someone, would remember and reach out to acknowledge your special day? You're not alone. It's a common feeling, one that many people experience, even if they don't voice it out loud. We live in a world that often celebrates independence and emotional self-sufficiency, where the ideal is to be strong enough not to need others. But the truth is, we all need connection, and birthdays, for all their emotional complexity, highlight this need more than any other day. At its core, birthdays are about being seen, not just for what we've done, not just for how we've shown up in the world, but for who we are at our most vulnerable. There's something about this day, this one day, that's just about you, that makes the desire to be recognized feel so raw and essential. And yet, so many of us shy away from asking for it. We tell ourselves that we're fine without the fuss. We pretend we don't need attention because we've been conditioned to think that wanting attention is a sign of weakness. But here's the thing. Wanting to be seen doesn't make you needy. It makes you human. We're social creatures, and connection is one of the most powerful emotional needs we have. It's natural to want others to remember us, to acknowledge the life we've lived, the progress we've made, the obstacles we've overcome. But as we grow older, we often learn to suppress this need. Maybe we've been let down in the past, maybe we've learned to give more than we receive, or maybe we've just become so used to handling everything on our own that we forget how to ask for what we need. We might feel that asking for recognition is asking for too much, or worse, that it somehow makes us weak. But the truth is, when we suppress our need for connection, we end up feeling more isolated. We become emotionally distant from others, even though deep down, we still crave the closeness and understanding that comes with being truly seen. It's easy to convince ourselves that we don't need anything, that we're fine without the recognition. But here's what often happens. We end up walking through life with a wall around our emotions, quietly watching as others are celebrated and remembered, and feeling like we're the only ones who didn't get the memo. Even when we try to convince ourselves it doesn't matter, a small part of us is keeping score. We notice when others are celebrated, when others are remembered, and we start to wonder, why not me? That's where the disconnect happens. We convince ourselves that we don't need anything, but we still feel that subtle ache for someone to see us and to reach out. This is especially true on birthdays. Even if you tell yourself you don't want anything, that it's just another day, there's a part of you that still wants to be recognized. It might not be a big celebration, it might not be a grand gesture, but the simple act of someone remembering, of someone taking a moment to say, "Hey, I see you, I'm thinking about you," can mean the world. It's not about needing an extravagant party or endless gifts. It's about knowing that you matter to someone, that you're not invisible in this world. That, at least for one day, someone paused to acknowledge your existence. It's easy to downplay this need. It's easy to hide behind the idea that we don't want attention, that we don't want to seem needy or selfish, but that only distances us from others and from ourselves. Needing connection isn't selfish, it's part of being human. We were never meant to go through life alone, and birthdays are a reminder of that. They're a reminder that we exist in the world not as solitary beings, but as part of a web of relationships. Whether it's friends, family, colleagues, or acquaintances, we are all interconnected, and birthdays are a chance to honour those connections, both the ones we have and the ones we wish to strengthen. What's fascinating, though, is that this need for connection can often remain unspoken. We don't have to shout about it, and we don't need to ask for it outright. The beauty of true connection is that it doesn't always require grand displays. Sometimes it's the small, quiet gestures that speak the loudest. Maybe it's a quick message from a friend, a thoughtful text, a call, or even a smile. These simple acts can fill a void that we often don't even realize is there. They say, "I see you, you matter." And in a world where so much of our attention is diverted outward, through work, social media, responsibilities, these small acts of recognition can feel like an anchor, grounding us in the reality that we are indeed seen. For some, birthdays are an opportunity to reflect on how far they've come. But for others, it's a chance to feel connected to the people who have been part of their journey, the ones who remember, who care, who take the time to say, "Well, happy birthday." That's what makes connection so powerful. It's the simple acknowledgement of your existence, the recognition of the person you are, beyond just the accomplishments, the roles you play, and the things you do. It's about the heart-to-heart connection that transcends words and events. It's the quiet understanding that even in a world full of distractions, there are people who still see you, who remember you, and who care. Now, this isn't to say that you should feel entitled to attention or that your happiness depends solely on others' recognition. You are, of course, worthy of love and acknowledgement regardless of who remembers your birthday or not. But the truth is, we are wired for connection. We all need that moment, however small, of being seen and valued by those around us. And birthdays, though they can stir up all sorts of emotions, are a great opportunity to express and receive that recognition. So, when the day comes, allow yourself to let go of the pressure, to pretend that you're fine without anything. Let others celebrate you in the way they can, whether big or small. Because at the end of the day, birthdays remind us of one important thing: we are not alone. Even when we think we are, even when we say we don't care, someone out there sees us, remembers us, and wishes to connect with us. And sometimes, that's the most beautiful gift we can give ourselves, to allow others to see us, to let them know that we still matter, even on the quietest of days. Have you ever noticed how your relationship with birthdays seems to change as you get older? When you were a child, a birthday was the most exciting day of the year. A day filled with balloons, presents, and attention. It was the day when everyone gathered around you, acknowledging your existence and celebrating your life. But as we move into adulthood, birthdays often lose that magic. Instead of the joy of anticipation, we're left with a quiet, almost resigned feeling. It's no longer a day for grand celebrations, but instead a quiet marker of time, one that seems to slip by without fanfare. But here's the catch: this shift from external celebrations to internal reflection is actually a paradox of emotional evolution. The more emotionally self-sufficient we become, the less we rely on external sources of happiness, recognition, and validation. And that's a powerful thing, right? It shows emotional growth, maturity, and independence. However, this emotional evolution also means that we no longer seek joy from the same sources, like a party, presents, or even someone else's acknowledgement. We've learned to find joy from within. The paradox is that while this shift helps us grow, it doesn't mean we're immune to the quiet ache for connection that still lingers. You might tell yourself that your birthday is just another day, and in many ways it is. But beneath that calm exterior, there's often a part of you that still longs to be seen, remembered, and celebrated, just not in the loud, attention-seeking way of our youth. Instead, as we mature, we begin to crave recognition on a deeper, more personal level. The party isn't necessary anymore, but the acknowledgement of our journey, our growth, and the person we've become, that still matters. Here's where the paradox becomes especially fascinating. We no longer need the world's approval, but we still crave connection. We've evolved emotionally to the point where we don't need grand celebrations to feel validated. But deep down, we long for those quiet moments when someone recognizes the effort, the pain, and the resilience it's taken to get us to this point. So we stop celebrating birthdays in a traditional sense, but the need to be seen, even in the quietest of ways, is still there. It's the human need for connection, and it doesn't go away just because we've learned to be self-reliant. Think of it this way. When you were younger, birthdays were markers of joy and validation. You looked forward to the cake and the gifts as tangible signs that you were loved and seen. As an adult, you might tell yourself that you don't need that anymore. But even in that self-sufficiency, there's still a soft voice inside that asks, will someone remember? It's not about needing attention. It's about wanting the simple act of being acknowledged, of being seen for who you are, not just for what you do. This shift from seeking external validation to finding internal peace is a powerful form of growth. It reflects emotional maturity, the ability to be content and whole without needing constant reassurance from the world. But here's the twist. This emotional maturity comes with a cost. The more we rely on ourselves for happiness and validation, the less we open ourselves up to others. We become so used to being self-sufficient that we close ourselves off from receiving love or acknowledgement. We become emotionally distant, not because we no longer need connection, but because we've learned to protect ourselves from disappointment. Birthdays are a perfect example of this emotional evolution. The day may pass quietly with no fanfare, but there's a quiet understanding that you don't need anyone to make a big deal of it. You've already celebrated your life in the quiet moments, the small victories, the quiet reflection, the growth you've experienced, and yet, even in that peace, there's still a small part of you that yearns for someone to reach out, to offer a small gesture of connection. That's the paradox. Even the most self-reliant people still have the need to be seen, still want the warmth of recognition. But the beauty of this emotional evolution is that it gives us the power to redefine what celebration means. It's not about the noise or the extravagance anymore. It's about the small, meaningful acts that reflect the quiet, steady growth we've experienced over the years. It's a quiet celebration, not of the big moments, but of the inner journey. And that's a celebration that's far more meaningful because it's grounded in real self-awareness, real personal growth, and real connection to who we are, without needing the world to affirm it. So when your birthday comes around and you feel that quiet longing to be remembered, to be seen, know that it's okay. It's okay to want to be acknowledged, even if you tell yourself you don't care. That quiet need for connection doesn't negate your emotional maturity. It's a sign of your humanness. You've learned to be content with yourself, to celebrate yourself quietly, but that doesn't mean you've outgrown the desire to feel seen by others. That's the beautiful paradox of emotional evolution. The more we grow inwardly, the more we realize that we still need others to see us for who we are. And sometimes, that's the most powerful form of celebration. It's not about fireworks or loud parties, it's about the quiet acknowledgement that, in your own way, you've made it. And that in itself is worth celebrating.